In this video, we're going to talk about walling in. The first thing that we need to know is how the mechanics of walling in work. So, we have three types of building as a Protoss player. We have the 2x2 building, which will be our pylons, 3x3 buildings, excluding assimilators, gateways, cybernetics cores, and things like that. And then we have our 5x5 building, the Nexus. To make a tight wall with a gateway, we have to overlap one square. To make a tight wall with a pylon, we also have to overlap one square. Overlapping more squares is always going to create the same effect as overlapping one square in these situations. So if I'm over here and I want to squeeze through, I can't squeeze through, I have to go around. If I'm over here and I want to squeeze through, I can't squeeze through, I want to go around. However, if I build this way, and instead of overlapping one square, I just go touch the corners like that, small units will be able to squeeze through. Large units will not be able to follow through. So you see the Zerglings could fit through, Hellions and Stalkers could not fit through. So, with the 5x5 building, it's a little bit different. With the 5x5 building, we have to overlap two squares. So, here we're overlapping two squares, and here, let's overlap one square, just like that. So again, if we're right here like this, I want to go around. I can't. But if we're over here, the small units go through, the big units have to go around. Same effect. And you can do this with gateways as well. So I could put a gateway, well I can't, but I can put a gateway right here, it would form a wall. A gateway right here would not form a wall. Knowing that, let's go ahead up to our ramp section and see how we can wall off our ramp. The first wall I'm going to teach you is probably my favorite. And what you do is you put the pylon at the area where you have 3 spaces down over here and 3 spaces down over here. So first of all, make sure you have the build grid enabled because you're not going to be able to do this without the build grid. Actually, I shouldn't say that. You could do it without the build grid, but the build grid makes it a lot easier. Display build grid is in the gameplay setting in your options, so make sure that it has a check mark next to it. And you'll see this grid. The way it works is the white or clear grids, or squares, are buildable. The yellow is not buildable. The trick is you have to be able to differentiate between ramp unbuildable space and edge of the cliff unbuildable space, or map feature unbuildable space. So the ramp will always be the same. It's always this uniform shape at the bottom. So this sort of shape like this and like this at the bottom. So don't worry about these squares. Worry about having 3 squares just like this. So you can see we have we have exactly 3 squares right here and 3 squares right here. So 3 squares and 3 squares. The advantage of this particular walling is that the pylon is further back, so it makes you less susceptible to a roach coming by or a ranged unit attacking the pylon and busting through the wall that way, busting through the weak spot. So our gateway is always going to go here or here. It doesn't matter. We can pick either side, whichever side you like the best. And if we're in big trouble, if there's something like a 6-pool coming, what we do is we throw down the cybernetics core right here like this. Or another gateway, if that's what you want to do. And then, the only area that we can attack this pylon is with one small unit. So only one Zergling is going to be able to attack this pylon, which is the weak point in the wall. And then these 2 walls make up the bulk of it. However, in most situations, you won't be 6-pooled, hopefully. And you'll be able to put the cybernetics core back a ways. So just like this, off to the side, hits the map feature that's right here. And then we're going to put a zealot there. Here we are. We want the zealot to be right over here in this area. Get it to hold position, and we get our platoon up here.
We move unseen.
And there we go. Can't get through. Can't get through. The next wall in is a little bit more standard. For the pylon placement in this one, you just want to put it so that the power reaches the edge of the ramp. So you want the power, edge of the ramp, just like that. While we're waiting for that to finish up, the last one we're going to do, you put the pylon at the edge area itself. So you put the pylon right over here, either over here or over here. Again, symmetrical shape. You can do it either way depending on your preference, depending on the map or the situation that you're in. Cool. So back to the standard wall. This will have the gateway in the same place approximately, well, exactly, as this wall. But instead of placing the other structure here like this and having the pylon over here, what we're going to do is we're going to put the cybernetics core there. The wall in is now, let's get a zealot. 1 square right there, that's the little pocket. So we send the zealot into his pocket, have him hold position, and see if anybody can get in. Can we get in, please? Ah, the Zerglings get in. And this is a tricky thing about using units to finish off walls, because units are not perfect squares in the way that the buildings are more or less predictable and symmetrical. They have different kind of a footprint or different kind of shape to them. So placing the zealot perfectly is going to be very difficult, but pretty much only Lings will be able to squeak by once in a while if you place it off a little bit. It takes some practice. And the last type of wall-in is one of the hardest to pull off, and that is this one right here. The advantage of this wall-in is it comes up before you build your cybernetics core. So in case you wanted to block off, actually in this situation, in case you need to block off very quickly with a probe or something like that, you could. And the other advantage is that it lets all large units in through. Oh no! Don't worry about that. Here we are. We're trying to get through. Zerglings squeak by because sometimes they do it. For the most part, nothing is going to be able to get out, in or out. The follow-up to this particular one would be something like this. And the advantage of this follow-up right here is that we now have a corridor that is 2 squares long. So instead of having 1 square like this, I want to see if Zerglings can attack. We have 2 Zerglings at a time attacking this zealot. If we move it back into this square, only 1 Zergling at a time will be able to attack this zealot. So that's going to double the amount of time you have to kill off whatever forces he's trying to attack you with. The vulnerability of this wall, however, is that the pylon is very close to this area. So if your opponent were to have some roaches or ranged units with vision of the high ground, they'd be able to take this out. So it is definitely suggests that you build a backup pylon over here or something like that. Or maybe even over here, over here. But having that backup power as your second pylon is always going to be a good way to go about it. You can use these principles also to build in your wall-ins at the natural, but we're not going to go over that in this video just yet. So hopefully this has helped you out with your wall-ins as Protoss players. Next video we're going to take a look at some Terran wall-ins, and then finally in the third video we're going to look at some walling in with Zerg and how that works out. So go ahead and leave your comments, criticisms, concerns, anything else beginning with the letter C, and I will see you guys real soon.